Hi everyone and welcome back to the July WARNO Tournament. Today we have our second game between Jasp and Bubble Baathist. I will try and keep the bath jokes to a minimum. Now, Jasp and Bubble Baathist are both playing as the second Panzer Grenadiers, so I'm going to get very confused here. Jasp is playing in blue on the left, and on the right is Bubble Baathist in red. Early cap for Jasp there with an FS Jaeger Commander, a little bit slower for Bubble Baathist here. We're seeing plenty of units coming this way, really aiming to secure Alpha in a big way for Jasp. He's sending very little up here, less so than Bubble Baathist did in the previous round. So this should be quite interesting to see how this one plays out. Obviously, it's just a few units down here in the corner, and we're seeing that usual unit coming up and around the top, and that's what we see from most players. So it was unusual last game to see Bubble Baathist just bring everything down this main road. Now, here we can see that, in contrast, Bubble Baathist bringing very little this way. He is bringing some infantry there. He will really need to secure this town, ideally, because Jasp will probably want to push out into it, so he needs to stop that. Up here, we see there are plenty of units coming in to defend this area. Obviously, Bubble Baathist will want to get into a nice defended position, hopefully this time realising he needs to be more on the edge of the point rather than in the middle, because if you're in the middle of the point, you can't defend them from getting into this edge here, which means that Jasp will have a foothold in the point, whereas if you're here, you can shoot out over the open terrain with tanks, with, you know, ATGM missiles, things like that. Tornado HE coming in straight away for Bubble Baathist. He needs to be careful because there's Eyehawks on the field already. One Eyehawk, a Jeopard. That jet is very dead. Eyehawks are so good right now. Plus the Jeopard just finished it off. Lots of shots coming out from that Lux at these infantry here, causing him a lot of trouble. Zisharung's managing to escape fully alive, but the problem with Zisharungs is they are literally just anti-infantry infantry. They just have those assault rifles. They do not have any ATGMs or any RPGs. We see a lot of reinforcements coming in at the top now for Jasp. Now the thing again is that Bubble Baathist really hasn't pushed this front line very much and forced sort of Jasp back out of these areas just by being a little bit more aggressive. And down here we're seeing that Jasp, to be fair, is right at the edge of this point. He will be shooting out. He's even got tanks up there shooting out. So Jasp positioning once again a little bit better, but in fairness, once again, Bubble Baathist is new to me. I assume he's newer to the game. So he's doing a really good job, especially in the last game, mixing it up a bit compared to what we see from some new people. So he should be really pleased with that. But positioning right now definitely favours Jasp. It's all about being right at the edge of a point where you've got some open terrain to stop the enemy pushing forward. And that's where, you know, mortars with a bit of smoke comes in. If you want to attack a point like that, you smoke it, you move in, you bombard it with bombers and stuff first. Obviously, a risky business when you're going up against Eyehawks. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out here. To be honest, Bubble Baathist isn't bringing in a lot. A tank is a good choice, however, because if he can take out the tanks that are here, that'll be great. Does need to be careful though. There are some anti-tank recoilless rifles dotted around, and there is a Milan 2 over there, but it shouldn't be able to hit the tanks that are over here. Eyehawk coming in here. There's the mortars. Look, these mortars could be used for smoke. They could be used to just try and scare units back. This comes down to player experience at the moment, because really artillery, unless you get a headshot on a unit, it doesn't really do much damage. The same with mortars, to a bigger extent, to be honest. So they're really good at smoking, but if you've got a competent player, they're not going to run away from mortars bombarding them. They're going to move up a supply truck and just repair faster than you can possibly damage their units. So it'll be interesting to see how that is utilised by Jasp. Obviously, slight points advantage because Jasp got that back point early, but they both just have commands in every point now. Zisharung's pushing around here. It's a good choice. He will be doing damage to these infantry, but unfortunately, he is against Pioneer Flams. There are hand flam patrons there, so they will make short work in the grand scheme of things of these Zisharungs. Flame troops, obviously, still king when it comes to that. 2A3 coming in at the top, another Leopard. Plenty of tanks going to be coming in here to push this point for Jasp. Jasp, as I say, can be quite an aggressive player, but not the most aggressive, so he will take time to build up forces before he makes a move. He won't just gradually be constantly aggressive like we see from some players. Panzer Grenadiers coming in now to help defend this area. Again, my concern here is no matter how many forces that Bubble Baathist has in this point, he's not forcing Jasp back over. He's not at the edge, he's just in it, which means that Jasp can get in here to some extent unscathed, and that's going to cause Bubble Baathist issues, because it also means that if Jasp can just push in this edge and hold that edge, he can bring in a command, and then he's got the point to win. So this is something that Bubble Baathist will have to take away from these games, is he needs to push to the next sensible point of defense, which for this point is at least where I've got my little box highlighting now, because that means that there is a little bit of open ground to be able to shoot at incoming forces. Obviously you need recon there, you need long range ATGMs and stuff, but that is the only way you can safely keep people away from a point. The same as here. I mean, you'll see that there are units sort of down here. The tanks actually pulled right back. I don't know if that's cost this. He saw the 2A3 coming in. Some more infantry coming in here. Some Jaeger Aufkul there. In the grand scheme of things, the ideal positioning here, as we have seen in many games, is for Jasp to actually push out the point and take this town. The reason for that is you can kind of hold this town, hold this forest, and shoot anything that comes in down here. Anything up sort of this direction. Sort of this part of the map I'm highlighting now. And then you push up these little tree lines here, and it allows you to sort of cut off the reinforcements coming down this road here. So it's to Jasp's advantage to push out, but he obviously feels he doesn't need to. He'd rather spend his forces on assaulting Charlie, which is fair enough. I mean, to be honest, Bubble Baathist isn't putting on much pressure down here. He is moving flam troops and stuff up himself now. So he has a good chance of pushing up around the bottom of this point into Alpha, to be fair. But you see what I mean here at the top? Immediately, without much effort, Jasp has pushed in through this tree line and is already in the town, which means his troops are better defended. He's got loads of Pioneer flams. This is an immediate point where, for me, Jasp has the advantage. Now, what should happen in this situation is, because Jasp is pushing all those forces top, the reality is that Bubble Baathist would need to push bottom, but he's in a much better defending position at the bottom as Jasp. So Jasp has the advantage there. Whereas here, because Bubble Baathist was so far back, it just opened the way for Jasp to push straight in. Look at these reinforcements arriving. He called them in straight into the town. He knew what he was planning. Leopard 2A3 coming in as well there, providing fire support. And here, he's got those tanks nice and close, just close enough to see and fire. Not so close that they can get hit by RPGs. Very nice positioning for Jasp. Command now being called in for that back corner as well, as I said. But Jasp could realistically just push all the way through this point. There's nothing really stopping him. He could easily kill off the forces that are here. Obviously, we do see some movement down here. The Leo 2A3 is moving up there, but it needs to be careful because there is a Milan 2 up there, as well as another 1A5 and an anti-tank recoilless rifle. I'm not sure where that tank is actually going. It kind of moved up there. It's now driving back. Don't know why it's driving back over. Mars being called in now. That's not something we see very often. My. Let's see if it actually does anything. Genuinely curious. No, just moving all these units. The rockets fire so slow. They fire in a very sustained left to right pattern. They're just not that scary. Might have got a hit on those guys. Yeah, it's doing a bit of damage. Yeah, there you go. Oh, they're also being engaged by the infantry, I guess, but they're doing some damage. Wasn't a complete waste, not doing anywhere near as much damage as it should, considering it's a multiple rocket launch system. Jaeger coming in there to try and help defend that point, but I think we can safely say, unfortunately, that Bubble Baathist is once again in a lot of trouble. Can he get into Alpha? He's moving his Leo 2A3s all the way up to the top there, but I'm not sure. An 80 in the back there. No jets from Jasp this time, interestingly. Well, I've noticed. A couple from Bubble Baathist, the anti-tank jet, and the HE bomber at the start that got destroyed. It's not super exciting, unfortunately, here. This is going to be a bit of a struggled attempt to try and regain some ground for Bubble Baathist, I think. 29 minutes to go. There's always a chance, but you see here. So, this is what I was talking about in the last game. 2 supply trucks immediately repairing and rearming. Immediately. Look at that. Completely repaired and rearmed in seconds of coming out of combat. They ran out of combat and immediately got healed. That is how powerful supply trucks are right now for infantry combat or otherwise. It's crazy. And because Bubble Baathist does not have a supply truck there, he's already lost this fight when he's got a bigger force. Because he will have taken damage to some of his units, I'm sure. Interestingly, not a lot to these ones that are still here. Maybe he's already lost some. That one's got a little bit of damage. But point being, he can't repair these troops. Jasp can. Oh, here we go. MW1's coming in and a cluster bomber. The MW1 didn't even drop, I don't think. Cluster bomber. That jet got taken out. There's a lot of Eyehawks on the field and Jeopards. Interestingly, no Eyehawks for Bubble Baathist, which is a bit strange. In fact, no anti-air at all. I suppose he really hasn't been dealing with many aircraft. Mortars being used as mortars, I think. That MW1 has... It does seem to have dropped some of its unguided bombs, its little bomblets. Here it comes again. There we go. Now it's dropped. Down here, absolutely no movement from Bubble Baathist. I mean, look at the field right now. There's another jet being taken out from Bubble Baathist. Look at the map. I mean, it's blue. There is very little red on this map. I'm going to speed things up a bit, not to prolong the demise of poor Bubble Baathist here, but I don't think there's any way he's going to make much progress here. He's losing all his troops down here. We can see that there's only about 5 minutes left of this game. But he's lost all of his forces here. As I say, this ability to repair and rearm troops are very advantageous. He has lost all of his flank patrons, though. But he's pulled these guys back. They are slowly rearming and repairing. There's really only the Jaeger Aufkel and 1 squad of hand flank patrons there. Mars... I think my advice, Bubble Baathist, would be to take that out your deck. At the moment, they are genuinely trash. Genuinely trash. Just get rid of them. They're not worth it. I've literally sat in 10v10 games, had multiple people firing these at me, and just left my units in buildings while they laugh at the incoming rockets. They're not worth it. Until there is a rebalance of the artillery. You only want big tube artillery, which maybe does some damage. Bubble Baathist did manage to get a little bit of a foothold in the very edge there again with a lot of units coming in, but it's just not happening for him. The entire map is blue. Sorry, Bubble Baathist. You're missing your rubber ducky. Lots of Panzer Grenadiers being called in, lots of Jaeger. I mean, I admire him for keeping going, but it just wasn't going to happen. Commiserations, Bubble Baathist. Again, significant difference in kills to losses there. Well done, Jasp, once more. Fantastic positioning again. Really impressed with your call-ins, your timing on those call-ins. When you attacked the top point, very impressed that you had pre-called in units into the point when you knew you were going to do your attack. That's confidence for you. Really well played, guys. Bubble Baathist, few things to take away from those games, few things to learn, but you're playing really well for someone who is just sort of coming into these tournaments from what I can tell. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. Let's have a quick look at the kills and losses. I completely forgot. Lux did really well. Leopard 2A3 doing really well there. Pioneer Flams doing a good job on the other side. Leopard 2A3, but not too much else jumping out. Maybe the Marder 1A3 there and the Panzer Grenadiers for Bubble Baathist. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone.